The climax of Pokemon Horizon's Mega Voltage is here. From an exciting evolution, Ult's secret Mega Pokemon, and an epic confrontation against the 6 heroes, this arc just ended off with a bang, so let's talk about it. Here's my reaction to and review for Pokemon Horizons episode 106 through episode 111. Okay, so this is a huge episode, obviously, and it focuses in on Ult and his really messy room. It appears to just be a bunch of rocks and garbage laying all around, so Liko and Roy tell him to tidy it up. To Ult, it's not a mess though, so this confrontation annoys him, and Roy even goes as far as saying that if Ult doesn't clean up, that he's gonna get kicked out. So the next morning, Ult decides to leave the ship. While he's out, he ends up getting hungry, so he tries to eat some nana berries growing on a tree, and this is where he runs into a kid named Ryu and his Grafaiai. We learn earlier that he wants to buy a strong sphere to improve his Grafaiai's paintings, but since nobody buys them, he doesn't have any money to buy a strong sphere. And we also learned that Grafaiai only likes nana berries, so his paintings are only in pink, hence why Ryu was saving the berries. And just when Ryu was about to part ways with Ult, he realized Grafaiai and Sableye were getting along, so Ryu and Ult sit down for lunch. This moment was so wholesome, just seeing these two and their Pokemon enjoy a lighthearted meal, and it also helped us learn more about both of the characters. Grafaiai ended up tasting some of Sableye's lunch, but since they're just gems, nothing comes of it. But Ult recommends that Sableye have Grafaiai try some other berries. This leads to Grafaiai tasting and enjoying Oran berries. Later that night, Ult is staying at Ryu's house, and it looks a bit messy, similar to Ult's room back at the ship. Ryu comments on it, but Ult already understands the stuff in the place is important. That was a pretty good moment. As the two are getting to know each other more, Ryu asks if Sableye is Ult's only Pokemon, which is when Ult mentions the Dusk Ball that he has that he revealed several episodes ago. And the next morning, Ryu and the Dusk Ball are gone. Turns out Ryu went to try and trade it for a strong sphere, and I don't like this honestly. It low-key tarnishes the wholesome parts of the episode, but while he's trading it, the explorers appear and take the Dusk Ball. This is where Ult appears and sends out Sableye to battle him. Let's go, dude. I love getting to see Ult and his Mega Sableye in action. Oh, wait, they're destroying him. Turns out even Ult can't stop two powerful Lockweem affected Pokemon. But when things are looking grim, Ult's Dusk Ball that the explorers took breaks open and none other than a literal Dragonite comes out of the ball. This is insane, dude. There were a lot of Pokemon I thought were going to be in there, but not a Dragonite, man. Wow. Dragonite easily defeats the Darmanitans after this and goes right back into the ball, so it looks like Ult hasn't quite won its approval yet. After this, the episode ends with Roy realizing what he did wrong and going out to search for Ult, where he runs into Ryu, who gives him a lead, and Roy compliments the painting on his way out. If we see Ryu again, it'll be a pleasant surprise, so I'm glad his little story got a nice bookend here. So this episode starts off with a brief interaction between Liko's grandmother Diana and Hamber. Turns out they were working together on something that has yet to be revealed. Diana is going to be returning next episode, so I assume we'll learn more about this then. But for now, we pick up where last episode ended with Ult infiltrating the explorer's base, and he already got caught. Although I love Ult's forward thinking here, as he pushes Sableye out of the range of Behem and tells him to run away, which pays off pretty quickly. While Ult is locked in a prison cell, Sableye finds Roy and leads him directly to Ult so they can break him out. Seeing Roy apologize to Ult here was a pretty sweet moment, not gonna lie. I like how their relationship is progressing in this series. By the way, when Ult is being delivered to his cell, he notices the cages that the 6 heroes are captured in. This is the first time they've addressed these Pokemon being captured in about 15 or so episodes, but they don't touch on it again whenever Roy arrives, which I'm not a huge fan of personally. But as they're escaping, they run into Indy and Rubella, the Explorers admins, who send out their Darmanitans again, this time in Zen mode. These two really have a great strategy in this battle because they utilize Rabska's gravity to limit our hero's mobility, and since gravity affects them too, Unova Darmanitan uses Psychic to increase Galarian Darmanitan's range of motion. It was also really awesome to see Roy and Ult formulate a strategy to get past this, by focusing on protecting Sableye so it can land a devastating Shadow Sneak on Darmanitan, with Cap cleaning up with Volt Tackle. The Explorers are no joke, however, and we see a bit of Spinel in these two whenever they have Rabska use Revival Blessing to heal Darmanitan. This is where we get to the highlight of the episode, and that is, of course, Ult's Dragonite coming out of its Pokeball again. Pokemon Horizons Mega Voltage is at its best when Ult is at its best, and this is probably my favorite Ult episode so far. We actually also get some backstory information on how Ult got Dragonite in the first place, which is nice information to have, to be honest. So even even though Dragonite is super powerful, it still feels the effects of gravity, until it starts reacting to the Mega Ring, and we get our first look at Mega Dragonite in the Pokemon anime. It looks so sick, man. I'm honestly excited to use this Pokemon in ZA. Obviously, after this, it destroys the Darmanitans again, along with Roy's Mega Lucario, and like last episode, Dragonite goes right back into the ball, so I think we have a bit of time before Ult earns its complete approval, but this is a step in the right direction. Also, this episode serves as Ult's official induction as a key member of the Rising Volt Tacklers. As he says, Rising Volt Tackler Ult has a nice ring to it at the end of the episode. Oh man, did I love this episode. Liko's mother, Diana, returns for the first time since the time skip this episode, and she has a ton of information about the Explorers and Lockweum. Honestly, it was great seeing Diana again. She's revealed to have caught a Revavroom and a Rotom Wash, which was kind of cool because I don't think we've seen a trainer with a different Rotom form in the Pokemon anime yet. Diana reminiscing on her time with the Rising Volt Tacklers was also really wholesome, and her introduction to Ult was amazing. Ult calling Diana his predecessor since she stayed in the same room as him was hilarious. Glad they hit it off instantly. But the real meat of this episode was the information drop. First off, Diana mentioned she met up with Hamber, which was revealed last episode, and even though Liko and the gang are skeptical, they finally learn that Hamber is going to be sort of an inside man for them going forward. Even though Terapagos was able to erase some of the Lockweum back at Laqua, it obviously wasn't completely successful, so Diana notes that Terapagos' stellar form has all the 18 types displayed on it. So her theory is that if they had Pokemon of all 18 types, they could completely erase Lockweum. Ult also ends up dropping that he saw Kleavor and Lapras back at the Explorer's base, which at the very least quells my problem with them not really addressing it in the last episode. Also, Briar briefly appears in this episode on a phone call. It was great seeing her again, even if she was manic about her book about Terapagos. By the way, I really think we're going to be going to the Blueberry Academy soon to meet up with her, but we'll see. The second part of this episode is a training battle between Liko and Diana. Meowscarada and Charcadet versus Rotom Wash and Arcanine. Now, overall, I think this was a great battle. It accomplishes exactly what it set out to do in giving Charcadet some good battling experience, and it doesn't make it seem overly strong for such a young Pokemon. Seeing Charcadet's overall determination in these battles, even if it's currently too weak to defeat strong Pokemon, is really cool. I guess my major problem with it is that Meowscarada is low-key kind of a pushover here. I mean, we saw it defeat Complete Zygarde a while ago, and a freaking Incineroar a few episodes back, so I don't know why it went down to one strong fire attack here, against a Pokemon that it previously defeated already. That being said, Diana's strategy to landing that big fire move was really good. By tricking Liko into thinking that Charcadet was going to get hit with a Hydro Pump, she baited Meowscarada into saving it, leaving her open to that strong fire attack. After that, it was a 2v1, so again, Charcadet was always going to lose here, but it actually does end up getting one victory against Diana's Rotom, and I don't really have a problem with this because it's already clearly stated that Rotom is a newly caught Pokemon, so that was a really good sequence of events. And much like the battle against Amethio, Charcadet musters up all of its strength and lands a huge blow on Arcanine, learning Fire Spin in the process. Solid battle, and now the gang is set on meeting up with Cervantes, Amethio's father, to learn more about the six heroes' whereabouts. Just wait till they learn he's not the CEO anymore. This episode starts off with Tinkatuff scavenging through the ship's scrap metal, and then Gimmighoul shows up to distract everyone as per usual. But I actually really like Gimmighoul and Tinkatuff's relationship in this episode. Later on, whenever Tinkatuff is searching for more metal, Gimmighoul notices it and decides to go help. That was really sweet, and Tinkatuff returned the favor by stepping in to help Gimmighoul while it was being bullied by a Scrafty. Elsewhere, Coral and Sidian are on their propaganda tour to get people to buy Strong Spheres, and the Rising Volt Tacklers are watching the live stream. This leads into Liko receiving a message from Cervantes saying that they should meet up at Exceed's Logistics Center in Paldea. After Coral and Sidian's public appearance, they also head off to Paldea on a Corviknight taxi. And if you know anything about those games, you'll know Tinkaton, a Paldean Pokemon, hunts down Corviknight like prey, so what could possibly go wrong here? Speaking of which, back at the scrapyard, Tinkatuff notices some scrap metal she wants to search through on a truck, but it drives off and the Rising Volt Tacklers have to leave, so she's pretty depressed about that. So depressed that she does this. Okay, it was actually because she saw the truck from the ship, so she jumped off and managed to land directly in the truck. That's just insane aim, low-key. And whenever the truck stops, guess what Pokemon she sees in the distance? It's the Corviknight that's currently carrying Coral and Sidian. I think this episode is really good, by the way, and everything starting now is just peak in my opinion. So Tinkertuff rushes off to the crash site and is so hyper-fixated on building her new hammer that she doesn't even pay any mind to the fact that Coral and Sidian are there. That's when Dot shows up, and much like the previous Tinkertuff hammer episode, it's up to her and her Pokemon to protect it so it can focus on building the hammer. Side note, I really love seeing Dot and all her Pokemon's dedication and focus to helping their friends since they know this means a lot to her, and you can tell that even the new team member, Gimmighoul, cares too. I love its determination despite being so small and somewhat incapable at the moment. This all leads up to Tinkertuff finally completing its hammer and evolving. Seeing everyone help it lift up its new hammer was a really great moment and embodies the teamwork theme of this battle. After it evolved, it made quick work of Glalie, using Brutal Swing to smash it like a baseball into the sky. Honestly, this episode and back when it evolved from Tinkatink are two of my favorite evolution episodes in Pokemon Horizons, because you really feel like it earned the opportunity to evolve and get stronger because of it. By the way, we learned that the meeting with Cervantes at the quote-unquote logistics center is most likely a setup, since Coral and Sidian knew about it, which prepares the Rising Volt tacklers to take it on next episode. It's finally time for the climax of Pokemon Horizons Mega Voltage, and this episode gets us right into the action with the Rising Volt tacklers ready to take on the Explorers facility. That being said, they're immediately met with the Explorers admins who call in some semi-trucks with the 6 heroes inside. Once they're let out of their cages, they use Strong Spheres on them, causing them to go berserk. Now Dot is noticeably missing here, and that's because she's still separated from the group from last episode when her Tinkertuff evolved into Tinkaton. So now we cut to Dot, and honestly bringing this episode up like this really helped the pacing. She quickly encounters Hamber, who leads her to the facility where Cervantes is being held. That is until they're intercepted by Calce, and while I expected Hamber to battle against her, we actually learned something that could potentially be pretty crazy. So she makes Hamber back down from the battle by saying if he betrays the Explorers, he won't get to be a Methio spy on the inside, which tells us that she not only knows about it, but hasn't told Spinel yet. Additionally, Hamber calls her Miss Calce Sensei in Japanese, so is Hamber potentially a former student of hers or something? And finally, Calce says she has her own goal to achieve, which could be teasing something for the next arc. Maybe she's actually the true mastermind of the Explorers. I don't know, we'll see, follow if you want to figure out what happens. But this leads into Dot battling Calce instead of Hamber, and it serves as Tinkaton's first battle since evolving. I like this setup because Tinkaton did battle a Lockweum affected Pokemon a few episodes ago, and Dot lost to Calce during the Terrassel debut arc, so this was a chance for redemption. The battle itself is just alright in my opinion. It didn't flow that well, not gonna lie, but Tinkaton learned Gigaton Hammer and defeated Calce's Metachan, so that was a full circle moment. Back at the main battle, one thing you'll notice that I didn't mention earlier is that the Explorers didn't actually use your normal Strong Spheres, as they've been upgraded to bring out the effect of Lockweum even more. This is shown off well because the 6 heroes now have Lockweum crystals all over their bodies, and you can clearly tell they're in pain. Lapras has crystals coming out of its shell, Moltres' eyes are covered. It's a bit dark, not gonna lie. After this, Liko realizes she needs to bring out Terapagos to get rid of the Lockweum, so Liko and Roy terrestrialize their starters, and Ult Mega evolves Dragonite. One problem is, I don't think the 6 heroes are presented to be as strong as they should be right now. 2 of them are legendaries, but the other 3 are also extremely powerful, and that's before Lockweum. They should be destroying, but they really aren't. Roy, Liko, and Ult subdue them pretty quickly, and Pagogo ends up erasing all of the Lockweum. So all's well that ends well, I guess. Just kidding, because Indy and Rubella used their Strong Spheres again, so I'm a bit confused because this part of the episode didn't really accomplish anything, but that makes me more excited for the next episode. The climax of this arc continues right where we left off in part 1, with the Rising Volt tacklers struggling against the 6 heroes who are being controlled by Lockweum, and things are looking pretty desperate, not gonna lie. Not only is Pagogo taken out, removing the possibility of vanquishing the Lockweum, but the 6 heroes are back at full power, and they take out Liko and Roy's terrestrialized Meowscarada and Crocolore. So everyone is down to their last Pokemon. Nothing is going their way, until a Methio steps in, and it's revealed that he found enough Zygarde cells for 10% Zygarde. I'm hyped that a Methio is back, don't get me wrong, but this haircut is not it, man. Anyway, a Methio commands Zygarde to distract Coral and Sidian, who had been watching the battle from a distance up to this point, and he sends out his Ceruledge. So now we have some pretty powerful Pokemon on the good guy's side. A Methio's Ceruledge, Roy's Lucario, Ult's Mega Dragonite, and Liko's Charcadet. Honestly, it was pretty cool to see Scarlet and Charcadet team up, even if it was severely outclassed by these powerful Pokemon. It's great because even though we know it's not going to win or even really do much damage, this Pokemon is still a determined fighter, and Liko helps it remember old strategies that can apply directly to this battle. Again, it's not beating Gouging Fire, but it can stall and distract the 6 heroes while the more powerful Pokemon figure out ways to do damage. Speaking of which, I like Ult and Roy calling back to their strategy against the Steelixes to cause Moltres and Lapras to attack each other. Right when they go for the finishing blow though, Arboliva manages to disrupt them, and that's where the battle takes a turn back towards the Explorers. Coral and Sidian manage to overwhelm Zygarde, which I don't like how they just brush past that, but all the other Pokemon get taken out too. Things are looking awful for the Rising Volt tacklers, but fortunately for them, the 6 heroes suddenly collapse and the Lockweum stops affecting them. Apparently this was just a test run for the super strong spheres, so the Explorers take the 6 heroes and flee the battle since they got their data. This can really only be seen as a decisive victory for the Explorers because of this, and I honestly think it's a bit underwhelming of a climax to this arc. That being said, the rest of this episode is mainly set up for what's to come. But first, Dot finally catches up to the group, better late than never, and with her is Hamber and Cervantes. Seeing Cervantes and his son Amethio reunite for the first time was really great, and I like how they navigate the dynamic between the two. Seeing them make up and Cervantes agreeing to join the fight was really special. The last part of this episode was pretty powerful though. Ult was so paralyzed with fear during the battle, and that frustrated him a ton. So much so that he initially planned to leave the group to go train, but they all say they want to get stronger. That's when Briar finally calls them back and suggests they meet up with her at Blueberry Academy. I think overall this climax was a bit unnecessary. We didn't really get much other than a one-sided battle, but the setup was great. They've been teasing Blueberry Academy for so long now, and I've always wanted to see it in Horizons, so I'm really hyped for this. And if you want to know what happens next, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on TikTok where I post my reviews as soon as possible after each episode releases.